Well, hello everybody, it's Mr. Lee David Carter again, and I wanted to talk to you about part 2 of this video podcast. In the first part, I was talking about gender dysphoria, can it be seen as genetic? Because there's a debate around it, thinking it's psychological, behavioural. So I've discussed that, and I do believe it's genetic, and reflecting on my experiences and my research and what I've looked into over the years, and being born in 1968, coming from a different generation, wasn't even heard of or spoken about. And from as young as 2 years old, I had all the symptoms of being a mismatch to the opposite sex that I was assigned at birth. Okay, I was born female. Okay, so on this podcast, on part 2, I'm going to be talking about the next debate: is gender dysphoria a mental illness? Okay, now gender dysphoria, to me, it's not a mental illness. Okay, I work around mental health. Okay, but some people may develop mental health problems. Now, because of gender dysphoria, there's a conflict that the gender identity is a mental disorder. Okay, but in fact, it is not. Simply means it's a dissatisfaction, conflict between the physical, should I say, and the physical or the assigned gender and the gender identity. So they identify with many, and I've spoken about this as a debate. Okay. Now, about this topic being, shall I say, confused or combined with sexuality, this is where you need to be educated. People need to be educated, okay? And even within the medical community, those that are feeling dysphoria, suffering with this, will feel distress. They'll feel over this with conflict, often at a very early age, which is what I experienced as a young child growing up, and many do. And it's not until, should I say, puberty or later that the stress stems from the way you feel, the way you think of yourself, in contrast to your physical gender. So the term transgender is not the same as homosexuality or being gay, shall I say. Or, however, saying this, I have worked with mental health, and mental health can be seen in so many ways. Okay? Now, it is because of the distress of suffering with dysphoria. Imagine waking up one day, just to educate people out there that don't understand, waking up one day and find out that you, in your mind, doesn't match the body you've been born with, that you're in the wrong body. Imagine waking up one day to that. How do you think that is going to make you feel as an individual, as a person, that you're in a foreign body? So now, because of the distress of that, those suffering, that in fact, this is what causes mental health problems. And this can be seen as anxiety, depression, hypertension, stress, not being able to sleep, even trauma, okay? Even suicidal, obesity, and feeling uncomfortable in your own skin. And I've spent over the last 40 years suffering with dysphoria. And I've experienced many of the factors I've just explained right now. I mean, if you break up in a relationship or someone passes away, you suffer with depression and anxiety and trauma. It's classed as mental health. I work around mental health. So why would you class dysphoria as mental health, as a mental health illness? No. It is the fact of suffering with dysphoria, of feeling you're in the wrong body, that it causes mental health problems, like someone close to you passing away. It's grief. So I want people to understand that, to educate people, so they have a better understanding of it. So the debate that gender dysphoria is a mental illness, no, it's not a mental illness. If someone passes away, would you class that as a mental illness? If you broke up in a relationship with somebody, would you class that as a mental illness? Unless they're mentally ill and they've got some proper mental health problems. So mental health can be seen in so many ways, and I've studied sociology and I've done some psychology in the past. So mental health can be seen as somebody that may go around and start cleaning everywhere, and they'll class that as mental health because they're OCD or something like that. So mental health can be seen in so many ways, or even people that get depressed and suffer from anxiety, they class that, or they're anxious, suffering from anxiety, they will class that as mental health. So I just wanted to speak about this subject, that you know, gender dysphoria is not a mental illness, okay? It's just the fact that somebody's been born here and they've had a mismatch in the body that they were assigned with the sex that they are, and they didn't ask to be born here that way, and it's because of them being born that way and suffering with dysphoria that's caused the distress for them, which would be classed as mental health problems, if that makes sense, okay? So, and of course this is where the coping mechanisms come in, which I've spoken about, to decrease the dysphoria, for them to cope with it, whereby, you know, and I've said this before in previous interviews, everyone's different, no one's the same, and everybody suffers or feels the symptoms or the distress of it in different ways. So I think it's important to educate people in having a better understanding. So this is part 2 of the podcast, you know, that I do believe that gender dysphoria is not a mental illness. Okay, thank you for joining me on this podcast, and please press the subscribe button. Anybody wants to ask me questions, contact me at info@leedavidcarter.com, reach me at www.leedavidcarter.com. I'm going to sign off, and yeah, keep following your heart, be true to yourself, be who you are, and stay in love, joy and happiness, and don't worry what anybody else thinks, just reach your highest potential and be who you are, okay? So I'm going to sign off, love and light, namaste, speak to you again soon, and bye for now, bye.